No, the word lead code triggers some kind of like PTSD, as you said it.
Oh,
All I want to do is pass
yeah.
that first.
Like no one's ever talking about your, let's say, your lease date or like your whatever, like rent
What
sharing or
food do you have? You're just
yeah.
eating McDonald's because you're in poverty.
Because he couldn't apply for new grad positions and he was too junior for SDE2.
All I want to do is pass
Yeah.
that first round. So
In case my lease was ending in November, and so I had to find a temporary accommodation for the 3 months.
exactly. And you don't have like money coming through, like you already paid
No,
the tuition, your cost of
correct.
living is like almost end, and you need to worry about utilities, electricity,
Yes.
internet. I came at 12 o'clock, I knocked on that person's door, and I was like, got the job. And that
Nice.
moment was like, oh boy.
Na 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 na.
Okay, hello, welcome to the Masters podcast. This is gonna be episode 3, and so this is supposed to be like we're supposed to be in the third semester. So, and I think for our batch or like most of the batches, this is the batch where you're supposed to actually prepare for interviews and do all that shenanigans. That's mostly the gist of what we're gonna be talking about. And now we have a guest called Keshav Chandrasekhar. Hey, welcome aboard.
Hello. Thank you. Excited.
So, this fellow is actually like, I feel weird calling him Keshav because I usually call him by his gaming name, K7. So we met
That's
in
also
gaming.
my Zoom name. But
Zoom name. What is your Zoom name? K7. Okay, now I can see
Yes.
it. Yes, K7. So I'm like, we met in gaming, and basically like both of us, like, somehow we were like having masters and like software engineers and all that. So basically both of us are like on the same shoes, and I was like, Yara Kupudla, this topic, third semester. I was like, I had to find the most nerdiest friend I ever have.
I wouldn't say nerdiest, but okay. Pretty sure that
Compliment,
like
this fellow
correct.
got another.
Pretty sure there was a lot of luck involved there, but
See, luck favors people who are talented. We all know
I
that.
don't think that's how it works, but okay.
Luck is no excuse, also, we say in gaming. So that is also there.
I mean, fair, but yeah, I would definitely wouldn't say nerdiest, but
No, okay. Someone who is like geekiest. Okay, does that sound better?
no,
Right.
it's okay.
But yeah, so I think like I wanted someone who's like also credible. So whatever I talk, yeah, you can take it for granted or you can take it for face value. But I have someone who has worked in Amazon Seattle as well. So we've seen the struggles, we've seen this thing. So we're gonna talk about like everything which is there, like from that process, from starting this thing. And I don't know if like a lot of you know, like for basically for software engineers, for software developers, I'll tell you like what's the process that we have to go through in masters. So basically, as we are nearing our final semester, just before like searching for jobs, we usually have like certain different rounds, like you have the HR round, this thing, that thing. But for software engineers and developers, we have this coding assessment round. So we need to prepare so much for that. This is, you can think of it like that 12th fail UPSC preparation kind of scenario. That is what we go through. So when was like, so Keshav, when was it like when was that realization which came to you when you're doing masters, that were you ever warned like there is a mountain like this at third semester, or did
No,
you not know?
I mean, so you kind of realize that when you I want to say end of second semester when you're looking for your first internship, that's when it actually hits you, and that's when like you realize you should have been doing it, you haven't been doing it, you're pretty screwed. That's where you realize that yeah, summer's around the corner. And so by the time you reach the end, I think you're already I'll say at least aware that there's something called lead code. And I mean,
That
you-
triggers
I'll say you're
PTSD,
pretty
man.
aware
The
of the
word lead
process
code.
in general. Sorry.
No, the word lead code triggers some kind of like PTSD, as you said it.
Oh,
Like,
I'm pretty sure that that's true for every CS grad or like every CS professional, because I think irrespective of whether you're here or I think even in India, I think lead codes become standard now. And so I think you ask any CS dev or CS professional, like
they'll
for them
scream.
lead codes like the like the trigger word sorts.
Yeah. So explain lead code to people who are not in tech in like 1 minute. Go. Your time starts now.
Okay, 1 minute. So, well, I mean, you know how you do. Okay, this might not be a very good explanation, but it's like Olympiad questions in math. This is the coding equivalent of it, where I mean, in math, 2 + 2 is 4, but they'll ask you to do like a complex calculation based on all the stuff you've learned. Like I'll say, lead code is similar in the sense that all the data structures and stuff that you've learned. For example, like you would have learned what an array is or what well, I want to say like linked lists are, and that sort of a thing. And they'll give you questions that make you use this. In the, so like a very, I mean, simple example. I think this is like the starter to lead code, and everyone knows it. It's called two-sum, where
No.
it's probably the most famous lead code question. But the idea is that given a list of numbers, you want to find a pair of numbers that add up to a given target, right? So here you know how to do it mentally, but you have to come up with a code that does it for you. And I think that's um I don't know if that does justice to what lead
good.
code is,
Yeah,
but
yeah. That's a good summary.
I mean that's I mean that makes lead code sound very fun. It's not.
Don't you love grinding lead code all day, doing easy, mediums, and like mentally torturing yourself in the process? Come on.
I mean, I want to say yes, but it's not true for sure. I mean, so I feel like you can probably do it if that's if that's what you well, if that's the only thing you're doing all day. But as someone that's working, and if let's say you're looking to like
Oh yeah, that's a
switch
different
jobs, or
ballgame.
even in like the same context where you're doing your MS or you're in your third semester, you have your coursework. So you finish all of that, and then at the end of it, you have to then go and like start doing lead code. I think
Exactly.
those scenarios are much harder because, well, even in terms of work, you can still say um I mean, you are mentally drained, but when you're doing your coursework and stuff, like you're already learning new things. And so, like you spend quite a lot of time there. And then after that, you have to also find time to do lead code and then also find time to apply because you have to do both of those parallelly. Like you can't wait for a company to get back to you and then do lead code because you're probably too late by then.
And this is the time where you're also like, you're enjoying your college life. You're like having parties here and there. You're like trying to finish classwork here. So it's like you're trying to grind for something where you don't have real life experience of. Like, for example, like I think you would have like had a job in India. Like when I came here, I did
Yeah.
not work in India. So like whatever you said, if I tell that to the third semester Godwin, I would be like, why do I have to grind it so much? I did not know the importance. So, like, my personal experience was, yes, people told me, yes, like, there were people like, prepare for like this thing is coming up. But
Right.
even till the interview, I did not actually like prepare lead code religiously because I thought I can solve it. Like, it's going to be like a software pattern or like that's
Yep.
the kind of thing I had. As
Yeah.
soon as I had like that first interview, that first coding assignment, and
Yeah.
the difference was, I think, if you also remember, like it'll be like every question is timed. You have 30 minutes to answer one question. That timer starts ticking. You can't start reading questions at a normal pace.
No.
So like I miserably failed in my first lead code, like that coding assessment. That's when I realized this is not something you think out of the fly or something. You need to like start grinding, just like how like we play a game called Dota. So there the equivalent would be like grinding MMR. Like you need to keep playing games again and again to get a hang of it. You need to know like
Yeah.
what spells to cast or like what this thing. So
Yeah.
only if you grind it, you will like, you'll sort of kind of like, you will have that, okay, so I remember this pattern. I remember like this particular thing. I remember, oh, this is something I can correlate. So you get all sort of like muscle memories kind of thing, like as soon as you're grinding it.
So I think that's fair because and also like to your point, I completely get why you thought that way, and I think that's what most of us go through. And the reason is that for most of these lead code questions, even if you think about it, thinking of a solution is very easy. Like
Yeah.
you immediately know what needs to be done to solve it, but converting that into code is where I
Code
think
with the test
the complexity
cases.
lies. It's in very like I think within the first 5 minutes you can come up with a rough idea on like, or not even a rough idea, a very solid idea on how you want to do it, or like how this can be solved. That's the easy part. Oh yeah, and then actually writing the code to implement your thoughts into like actual working like logic, that's where it really gets to you. And I think also when we're doing our internship, it's 30 minutes for one question. Generally when you're doing for full time, in the 30 minutes they expect you to do another question as well. And so the format is that usually it's a let's say a warm-up question that eases you into the process, and then the next question would be a follow-up on the first, where there are like extra constraints that are like built on top of the first solution. So that's where the complexity increases, and so that's like a very common format. And that's something that I've so the reason I mentioned this, so this was the first interview that I gave for my internship, and that's where I was actually, that was like a rude awakening for me. Where
Hmm.
the first question was very easy. They said 30 minutes. They give me the first question. I'm thinking maybe that's the standard, and I was very happy. I solved it in 5-10 minutes, and they give me a follow up, and I have no idea how to incorporate that. Like, just I'm just blank. The interviewer, like, they usually give you a couple of hints, like absolutely no help. And then that's when I came back, and then I started reading up on it, and I was like, there's something called lead code. And then that's true. And then unfortunately for me, I was in the COVID batch of masters, so there's no partying for me. But I
Oh,
mean, the thing is, that's um another issue, because you're like a bunch of people in the same house. All of you are doing lead code. All of you are applying for jobs, and then when someone gets a call back, there's like added pressure there, because
yeah.
you're in the same house. You know this guy just got a interview call. You know, like, things are happening, and that's like a different kind of pressure that I think you maybe avoid when you're in person, because you're not really interacting with your like. So the thing is, all my roommates were in the same program, and so we were
Oh,
all doing the same classes, same courses, and yeah, it definitely wasn't fun there. Yeah, I think um so like, yeah, to coming back to the point, I think lead code itself, I know people that actually really enjoy like doing lead code. They actually,
psychos, right? Yeah.
yeah, they actually, I don't know, it's like, you know how we play Dota, they do lead code in that way. Um, like, they, like, when they come across a new question or they come across a new solution, they actually get happy. Like, that's not how normal humans behave, at least in my opinion.
And also, it was like very scary. Like at that, like, this was like you haven't entered the actual interview space or like market. This is just you as a student trying to assume what's coming, right? I still
Yep.
remember, like, as I was preparing for Lead Code, this interviews and all, you have this career fairs, like,
Yeah.
happening here and there. So I attended like a Chicago career fair or something. So before that point, if you saw me like in terms of like preparation for interviews or something, I was like more focused on coursework or this thing. It was like 1,000 people in an
Yeah.
arena, and like people were standing in queues for like 100 year, and
Yeah.
they used to be asking like 2 year software engineer, me,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
100 people used to go. That's when it hit me like, oh, this is the actual competition that I'm going to be competing with. Like if I prepare for like 10 minutes, there's like 100 people who are more experienced, who are like who are grinding more. And that kind of gave me that that real like big picture of, okay, this is actually the competition.
And also, I think for all the popular employers, there used to be the like a big queue where you're standing, and you know you're not going to get more than 30 seconds with the recruiter that's standing there. And people still stand there just to give their resume to them. I
Yeah.
never understood if that was effective. I never understood if that helped. I never stood in those lines, because I felt like I'd rather go and talk to five others than wait in that one queue. That'll take the same amount of time. And funny story, actually, when you mentioned career fairs, um when I was so for the first internship with doing my masters, we had a career fair. So I didn't know there was a dress code. So I just went there in jeans and t-shirt. I go to the venue, and my faculty advisor there, he stops me. He was there. He's the I think coordinator for the full event. He sees me and like, there's no way I can let you in. Like, I can't go back, change, and come back because I had no idea there's a dress code. Just please let me in. And
Oh, they
I
were very strict. Yeah.
genuinely like begged him for think solid like 15-20 minutes, and finally it was like, okay, fine, just quickly go, this is like the last time or whatever. And funnily enough, I went and spoke to like 3 or 4, and I actually got my internship through one of those companies that I almost missed because I didn't know there was a desk. There's no way I was going back and coming because my apartment was far enough, and there's like, I think by the time I'd come back, I probably would have missed most of the event. So until this date, I keep thinking like, if let's say he didn't let me in, I probably wouldn't have gotten an internship because that was just before COVID hit. And so after the career event, all the companies stopped hiring because COVID started, and so
Oh,
internships
it
stopped.
became even more harder, right? And that
Yeah.
batch,
So like that time we had no idea this was going to happen, but luckily enough, um, okay, so like from next time I went in like full shirt, pant, coat, like the full ensemble.
yeah,
Um,
it's just like there's so many factors that you have to keep in mind, right? Like this won't even cross your mind. Like it's very like it's relatable. Like I also remember like there was a time when I had to interview that I forgot that you're supposed to like have formals and all that for that
yeah,
particular round, because people say that it's like fine dress code or
yeah,
casuals, but there are some people who are kind of particular and they kind of like assess you based on, oh, so if
yep,
he's not even gonna be like at least on this particular thing, then what can we assume? So you don't want to be like especially after you're preparing for like what 2-3 weeks of full grinding, and some small factors you don't want them to be something to be overlooked and stuff. So I think yeah, it's definitely you do it just for the sake of doing. You're like, okay, what do you want? You want me to put formal school? You want me to do this thing
yeah,
school? All I have to do is like my entire mind is that first round. All I want to do is pass
yeah,
that first round. So like I think like different companies have different ways of doing it. I think the ones that I have interviewed in the starting, but I think like one pattern is every company starts with the coding assessment. Most of them
yeah,
start with HR, like but we don't even count HR rounds as HR.
yeah.
Sorry to any HRs, but it's just basically they're gonna be like, hi, yeah, what's up? Like, hi, are you able to relocate? Are you able to do this? You're just gonna talk for like 30 minutes for like to some random person, and they're just
Yeah.
gonna take you to the next round. So as soon as that HR question, and there's also this added pressure of, do you require H1B to be
Oh,
as soon as
that's
that
a big annoyance. I think
la,
like half the companies, I think they don't even process your application if they see that yes.
right?
And
It's so
especially
irritating. Yeah.
and like especially when you're looking for internships,
You
uh it's
it's
still
almost
easier, but like
impossible.
sorry, for full time it's like so bad because internship they still give you because it's a 3 month thing, and so it doesn't matter if you're international or not. But full time, and that too full time new hires, you're competing with not just the other master students, you're also competing with the other undergrad students that are also
Hmm.
like from the same country who don't have a visa requirement. And so like I honestly think that level of competition is pretty insane. So like
It's
everyone that's in the US right now after the masters, like I think like, you deserve to pat your back because yeah
really it was like I can't even think about the factors. Like if I think about it now, first of all, like being like someone out of like masters, like if you're a new grad, if you
yeah
haven't had a work experience, that is an hurdle you have to cross. You're competing
yeah
with people who have experience. Second, on top of that, you're competing with all the H1B holders, all the people who have already worked here, who have experience. Like they say it's like like software
yeah
development, but everyone's gonna be in that bucket. Third, on top of that, you're competing with like this entire system of visa. Like they need to like, and that's not an easy task for them also. They need to like sponsor your H1, complete forms, do this, do that. If you jump at that time, it's a loss for them. So that so many factors are there. On top of this, my only like annoyance will be like some HRs or like some companies, they will know that, you have selected, yes, you need sponsorship.
Yeah.
Immediately at that time, please tell us you're rejected or something. There are
Yeah.
companies where I've done first round, second round, third round, HR round. At that final stage, they'll be like,
Yep.
oh, so you need a sponsorship. I'll be like, come on, like this could have been all avoided. And then you have to again start from scratch.
Yeah. And there's another category, by the way. You mentioned new hires. A roommate of mine during masters, he had, I think, 4 years of experience in India, and he was having issues because he couldn't apply for new grad positions, and he was too junior for SDE2.
Oh, okay.
So he was getting rejected from both sides. So just looking at him, I felt very happy for my case. I'm like, okay, this could have been way worse. But yeah, I mean, he did end up getting a job, but I remember him struggling, and it felt pretty. I could understand. There's nothing you can do at that point because, well, if they shortlist your resume, you can at least make your case by talking to them. But half of these rejections happen after you fill out the application form, right? And so you're never interacting with anyone, so there's no opportunity for you to like ever make your case saying either you're good enough or like why you're like looking for a lower position or why you think you can look for a higher position. All of that just happens in like 5 minutes. They just look at your application, they're like yes or no, and you're done.
It takes like there's a stat, right? That an average person spends like 7 seconds to review a
Yeah.
resume, like from top to
Yeah.
bottom.
And so, and
Come on.
the thing is, half of those, so the people that review your resume aren't even are usually the recruiters, and so you have to be very. There's like I mean, there are like workshops at your college, and like at a lot of universities give you
Yeah, they
workshops on like
train you
how to
build a
craft your
resume, right?
resume because you want to make sure that you're highlighting the right keywords that they recognize, and then actually move your resume forward to an actual technical, let's say a hiring manager or like a I don't know, hiring whatever, like engineer who's actually going to look at your resume for your technical skills. Like the recruiter just has like a bunch of keywords that they identify. So
Nowadays,
like
even machines do it, right? Like AI is like,
yeah,
look for those keywords.
well, that's always been debatable, right? It's called, I think, ATS is the system that scans your resume, and then it pulls out like keywords from it. But there are like a lot of issues with that because I remember my initial resume. So LinkedIn has a free resume parser that you can use. That you upload a resume, it'll give you all the keywords that it can understand from yours. And so the issue with mine was the format that I used. LinkedIn couldn't parse it, so like it didn't get any keywords from it. And so, irrespective of what you have there, if let's say the company you're applying to has a automated system, there's going to be no output for your resume, and so you're done there. So there are like so many factors like that where like you only like I guess you only learn about these as you experience them.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know ATS was a thing till we had the so we had a resume or like a career event, or not even like career course where they tell you how to write your resume, how to answer like we have the behavioral questions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
they teach you how to or like what's the most optimal way to go about answering them and that sort of a thing. And that's where they told me there's something called ATS. You have to use like a very specific format that's ATS friendly, and then how to highlight the right keywords and that sort of a thing. And so yeah, like getting past that first round, I think I'll say that's probably the most hardest part of the entire like the interview process, because I think once if you somehow make it past the HR, you once you get to coding round, I think after that it's just a matter of how good you are. Like after that, like the randomness goes away, the luck factor. Well, I won't say luck factor goes away, but like it's reduced because at this point it's up to you to make or break your application. But yeah,
It's
definitely the hardest part is the screening. There have been so many times where, like you said, they select my resume, go to the HR round. I'll speak with them, everything's going fine. Then she'll be like, are you on visa? I'll say yes. And they'll ask you if you need sponsorship. I'll tell them all of that. They'll write it all of it down, and then within a couple of hours, I get a rejection saying, "Sorry, we're not." And so, yeah, I can completely relate to that part. Um,
I can think of this analogy, like it's like, you call customer support or something, and that's like an automated machine telling press one to like do this, press two
Yeah.
to do this. And your only intention is as soon as I speak to a human, I know that my question is going to be answered. But
Yeah.
nowadays it takes 10-15 minutes to actually reach a human. Sometimes I've been disconnected from that service without even like, like getting to that person. I'll be like screaming like customer support, this thing. Those
Yeah.
options would be in such a way that they wouldn't solve you, but they wouldn't also reach you to that person. Because till that point, no matter what you're talking, it's like you're talking to that wall.
Yeah.
Same way this interview is like whatever resume you have, whatever like this thing, you don't talk to an actual person. Like
Nope.
after that second round or third round, if you speak to one technical lead or something, that's actually a person. You can assess, like whatever skills you have, whether behavioral or technical or whatever it is, it's in front of a person. Along with like your coding or this thing, you can do that. But now, like this one thought that it's a mission or like it's some 7-second process of resume like grading, that's demotivating. That kind of lets you like, I've applied for like, like I think my count was like almost 400 plus applications during that time.
Oh yeah,
And
easily.
it's insanely demotivating at certain times that you get like 50-60 rejections in like one weekend
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
You don't even have that energy to like go back again, whatever I apply, whatever. And I also remember, like, if you remember, your first resume is going to be the absolute worst, like when you
Oh
start in
yeah.
college. I've put like I think I've put things that
Everyone has the Word, Excel,
Excel, Microsoft
HTML.
Office. I've even put like, because I had no experience, I worked as a dishwasher in my college. That experience and all, I
Right.
put, okay, maybe they'll take like discipline or something from that particular job or something. So you fill it up basically from start to end. You put like, all your random experience, and then you start on top of it. You send it to your seniors, you send it to
Yeah.
people, they review it. Then you like, I think I still don't know, like if I remember like what is like Jenkins and all at that time, but I still put it. It's a famous keyword. Like at that time, oh, REST API, yeah, put it. Oh, Jenkins, put it. Like
Yeah.
you had everything which you want, like which was bus. And my idea was you put all these keywords, you put all this tag. As if you get selected, you start preparing in the 2 or 3 weeks, right? Because you don't even know if you are getting past it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You basically, it's like you are creating a solution to bypass that particular problem at that moment, which is what an actual software developer is doing, right? You
Fair. But I mean, that's true, but that's also what like people who actually get into like the actual fang like Google and all of that, they basically keep preparing irrespective, and that's, I don't know how they get themselves to do it. Like whether or not you have a interview call, whether or not you have anything,
you're
they're just
always
like
up to
sitting
date,
there,
right?
hitting their account, hitting their daily like quota, so to speak. And I think so, like, I completely agree with you, and that's what I did too. Like, initially, I'll start preparing, and after a point, I'll just postpone it, saying I'll wait till I get an interview call. Because after a point, like, it feels pretty pointless to like sit and do this when you don't even know if you're getting an interview, and like
Hmm.
automatically your mind is like just goes to the zone where you're just postponing it till you get a call, and as soon as you get that initial interview call, like it hits you that maybe you should have done it so like till now. And then like the panic sets in, and then you just quickly go open lead code. You start solving a question, then that's when all the memories come flooding in, saying why this is so bad and why this is so irritating. Like the hate for lead code just increases with every interview, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And that too, like I always felt like, I was part of that like I would say, what do you say, like that minority group of people who are grinding for this. Because if I remember third semester now, if I remember lead code, there was like hardly like 5% or 10% who were actually preparing lead code.
Right.
Because like we said, right, this is something nobody knows at that point. We hear it from seniors, but we
Right.
were in that mindset like pathagla, we'll see it when it comes. So
Yeah.
most of them kind of like, I felt like because at that third semester, I was actually starting to grind. I say grind, but I've done maybe like very few questions for that particular part. At least I had that
Hmm.
lead that, okay, like, you are, once you got to actually go to the interview, you had an early lead or kind of thing.
Yeah.
People who
Yeah.
never did lead code, people who never studied data structure algorithm, I can't even imagine like how like how fast it's gonna kick in for them that you need to do this all in a span of 1 or 2 weeks, right?
I mean, I guess all it takes is one interview, and then like you get hit so bad, you're like, okay, like just
But yeah,
have
well,
to.
that's also the thing, right? Like for people like us, you remember the time frame you finish college.
Right.
Like ideally, you should have been applying for interviews before
Correct.
graduation or before that thing.
Correct.
Let's say like most of them will not do like like interview, like applying for interviews and stuff, and
Correct.
you end up in a scenario where you have a certain what do you say, maybe like the time which your EAD comes. So I think just to recap that process, like after
Oh,
we usually after we like finish college, uh we have a certain number of days after the time we graduate to find a job, and it's
yep.
timed. It's not like you have like unlimited days and all, only
You have
certain
90
like I
days, I
think
think.
90 or something, right?
Yeah. 90
90
days.
days to find a job. So imagine, like, all this when I said without that timer, it's fine. You have, you're on day one of day 90, and you start applying for a company, and let's go back to that same case of you're getting rejections for all your 10 applications which you did. If you go on day 10 and you're going to do
Yeah.
that same thing, there's also this work of preparing for lead code. There's also
Yeah.
this work of, and we haven't even talked about system design or
Oh,
what all
yeah.
stuff you need for that round. Those are all going to, so at what every point there's an hurdle, at every point there's an obstacle. And yeah, that's it's just like if I think about it now, like with that 90 days, it's more traumatic. Like, oh God, it's
And realistically, you're not going to get more than, well, I want to say at least for like 99% of the people, you're not going to get more than like what, 5 or 6 interview calls. It's
yeah.
usually you converting one of those 5 that like you end up with. And so each call that you get, like you have to treat it as a do or die situation. Like there's no what I'm trying to say is like you can't really say that this is a trial interview because
Hmm.
you never, this could be the only interview that you get for that season. Like you can, there's absolutely no way for you to guarantee it, and like, or guarantee and tell that you'll get another call. And so that just adds like a couple, like 2 3 layers of extra pressure that you don't even need, because that is the sad reality of like all of this. Because like especially for international students, I don't think I'll say the like, yeah, I'll say 5 or 6 seems like a very realistic number, just given like I've seen my friends and like the number of calls that they got. So I'll say just based off of that, I think that's a very fair number. I don't know about what your situation was, because
Calls. I
mine was
think, are
also
you talking about
different.
the final round or like just the
Any just like the first round. I don't think you get well, first round, okay, fair. Like the coding assessments, a lot of those are like just like online, right? Like they're not proctored. They're like a generic ones on like HackerRank or like Codility or whatever. So I think those you'll get quite a few. But I'll say the actual final rounds of interviews, like the 2 or 3 interviews that you have, I think those you probably only get from like a bunch of companies, not
Yeah, I think it
all.
was also like 4 for me, like if I remember
Yeah,
the
so
exact
I
number.
think, yeah, it will be around that figure. And also it depends. Like for me again, mine was like a even more unique situation because we were just recovering from the COVID phase, and it was the December. So I graduated in December, and that's the holiday season. And so we lost I think 2 or 3 weeks around the Thanksgiving week because companies just don't do interviews then. And then we lost the entire second half of December because companies just go off for Christmas. And so if you think about me graduating in December, I had to secure a job like before December, because if I miss that, everything after that is going to be from like Jan second week. So I'm already
Hmm.
like 20 days into my like 90-day period without even like getting a call back because of the holidays. And so things like that, I think and it's not just me, there are like so many people that graduate, like my entire university, the batch, sorry, they all graduated same December. And so we're all on the same boat, that I know so many people that basically, I mean, there's also like the lease that you're staying in. Like you have
Oh,
to manage all of that. In my case, my lease was ending in November, and so I had to find a temporary accommodation for the 3 months.
exactly. Yeah.
And like figure that out. And so you have that move in your head.
And you don't have
Uh,
like money coming through, like you already paid
no,
the tuition, your cost of
correct.
living is like almost end, and you need to worry about utilities, electricity,
Yes.
internet. So you're already not in like there's that saying that even in Dota, if you play at your home, you play a certain way. But
Yeah,
if you go to a LAN or if you go to a cafe, you're like playing at 10% or like 20% of your skill level. You're like compromised.
for sure.
Right. So this is also there. Like as an international student, you don't have a place
Yeah.
to stay. You're cramped up. You try to like take places with like seniors or like other
Oh
students.
yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
And yeah, you're usually at that time you're running, or like you're basically running on your internship money. So like you're
Yeah.
trying not
If
to
you
take
had an
money from
internship,
home.
that is
Yeah, if
like,
you had an internship, fair. Even otherwise, well, I went on loan, and so it's either internship money or the loan money. Like
yeah,
regardless, like you're only like there's only limited funds available to you. Um, so yeah, I remember like
conditions.
those, like the last semester, that time was just insanely hectic because you're juggling all of this at the same time, doing all of the lead code and like applications
There's
and
also
coursework
that
that we
thing that you have
discussed.
a certain requirement, like, your CGPA should be above certain
Yes.
3.5 as a CS student, right?
Yeah.
I still don't know if that's like actually matterable because the companies I've interviewed, I don't think anyone actually looked at
No.
CGPA, but like if you add that, 3.75 plus, you have to
Yep.
kind of keep it.
Yep. I don't. So I think for new grad positions, the application asks for it. I've never seen like non new grad positions ask for the CGPA, but also I feel like for most companies that I saw, their threshold was pretty lenient. I'd say it was like 3.4, 3.5. But yes, I think all the big companies, they want a 3.75 plus,
Yeah.
and so that's basically what, like S grade in almost every subject that you've taken.
And
Like,
you'll also see people who have like 4 casually in your class. So you already know that
yeah,
even in your class, if someone is like 4 and you have like you see a resume and you don't have any experience as a new grad, that is your only like unique selling point at that stage.
right,
So you're already having that pressure. Okay, I'll have to have at least this minimum GPA. And I think like
yeah,
more than the CGPA, your projects also like plays a big role. Like whatever projects you did, like I think I remember I took like certain courses to have like certain particular projects which
yeah,
had like a research paper attached with it.
yeah,
So I think like there's like two different strategies you can directly go into that CGPA route, or you can have like an okay CGPA with like good projects or like paper underneath you. So I think like that is also an added layer of stress where you try to balance out your resume, you try to balance out your this thing, and top of that for me, like I have to balance my third semester of college life because I
yeah,
know I'm not gonna get this college life again. I need to like
yeah,
have fun. I need to like socialize, do this, do that. It's just like I don't know like how people don't even realize that especially I like this is for software. I don't know like other departments that I know that electrical and industrial is like equally hard, and like that it's common across all the grad students, but people say stressful, but they do not know the actual stress a person faces like until they experience it themselves.
yeah,
It's
yeah. Because it's not just like coursework stress, right? Like the things you mentioned, like they're not even
everything.
things
Yeah.
that you'd ever talk about because like it's just taken for granted. For example, your stay, like no one's ever talking about your, let's say, a lease date, or
Mm.
like your whatever, like rent
What
sharing, or
food do you have? Like, you're just
yeah,
eating McDonald's because you're in poverty.
yeah, you're never like talking about all of that, but just that's always a thing that's at the back of your mind. And I think all of that sort of adds up because ideally, like just a hypothetical situation, like if let's say you were doing all of this in India where you're at home, I don't
Mm.
think you'll be like half as stressed, because
Exactly.
you are only focusing on just your work and in your interviews. Like you don't have to worry about it. Even if let's say you're staying away from home, I think the stress factor there is significantly lower.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the biggest differentiator between like searching for a job back in India versus here. And I think that's what makes a big difference.
Cool. Okay. I'll have a pause at this moment because we are like almost 40 minutes on that Zoom recording.
Mm.
Okay, I guess welcome back. Now I think you must be used to the ritual. Second part, Zoom, 30 minutes. We are poor students. So this is the only way to record a podcast right now. Okay, so what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about all that. Okay, let's maybe like skip to something fun. So third semester, whatever happens, like COVID batch idu varna kuda, there must be some way like you would have like அப்படியே ஜாலியா ஒரு ஃப்ரைடே நைட் டு லெட் ஆஃப் ஸ்டீம் ஆர் சம்திங். வாட் வர் சம் கிரியேட்டிவ் ஸ்டஃப் தட் யூ லைக் ரூம்மேட்ஸ் ஆர் ஏதோ அந்த டைம்ல வென் யூ டெட் லைக் தேர்ட் செமஸ்டர் ஏதாவது மெமரி மாதிரி?
I mean, so the thing is, our university let us rent equipment. So
Okay.
what we did was every, I think, weekend, we used to rent a projector. Because it was COVID, like that's basically meant all of us are at home. We rent a projector. We had like a very huge wall, and all of us will just sit, connect, and like watch a movie there. So that was like I think we basically did that every weekend for that entire semester. I think like without fail, and so that was something that I think exactly. I think Friday afternoon we'll go get something to drink, get some food, get some snacks and all of that, and then one guy will go to the university, get the projector and come, and then
Mm.
so that was, well, I mean, I won't say blow off steam, but I mean, do whatever we can with what we have, and then
That's
a
fine.
couple, I
Staycation
think,
Murray.
yeah, and then I think wait, let's see, that's when Valorant came out, and a couple of
Valorant.
my
Ah.
roommates wanted to try it.
Oh, were you
Because
still playing gaming? Sorry, like were you gaming like till that job search and all was happening, or?
I mean, I feel like gaming's been there with me, like irrespective of what I've done, like what I've been doing ever. Like that's something that I need, and that like I fall back to at every point. And yeah, even during the job search, even during all of that. So naturally, right, what'll happen is during the day you can't play, like you're doing your coursework, and then evening you're doing lead code, and then at night once you're done with everything, I felt like I just needed a break, and so I end up playing at night. So the only thing that suffered was my sleep. But like I felt like just playing one or two games, either Dota or like I think there's Call of Duty, that was a craze back then, and then there was
There's also
Valorant.
PUBG and Ludo in that COVID era, right? To
Oh
casual
yeah,
games as well.
there's Among Us. That was
Among
such a
Us,
big.
yeah.
So yeah, actually yeah. When I said Among Us, so in our apartment building we had five of us in our apartment, and then there was, I think, two other houses that had people that my roommates knew, and so all of us we just connected to like the same game, and all of us played Among Us together, and so it was
Oh,
like I don't know, like
college
7-8
LAN
people.
Madri.
Yeah, college land madri ana for like just like these small games, because obviously whatever you can run on your phone. There was another game called Scribble. I don't know if you've played.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that was like probably the most fun game that I played with them, because that's where you're just like bullshitting and just doing some stupid shit. But it's also the most fun with like all these guys. And I mean, I also had, at least for me personally, I had a bunch of people that I met online through Dota who were also in Boston, like non-Indians that I just so happened to meet, and they also just so happened to be in Boston, and so I actually hung out with them quite a bit, and I think one of them's actually a research student at an Ivy League there, and then the
Oh,
other guy is also working there. But it was funny to see that even like regardless of whether you're doing PhD or not, like Dota is something that
it's
still sticks with
constant,
you.
right?
So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, if he can do it, like I'm still like validated to do it. And so
Yeah.
that was good to know. But yeah, so I think with my roommates, Valorant was something we played quite a bit because it was new then, and then all of us wanted to try it. Black Friday, everyone had a gaming laptop anyway, and so I think we spent quite I think quite some time just doing that at home, because we'll do classes in the morning. We had the 8:30 classes. I don't think anyone ever attended it. Like I remember me and my roommate, like we said, like
In the
we were
morning,
sharing the same
8:30.
room. He'll wake up, his
Yeah.
alarm will ring. We'll open our laptops, join the Zoom call, just mute ourselves and go back to sleep.
Join the Zoom call. I feel jealous hearing that. Okay, carry on.
I mean, I feel like it's got its plus and minuses. We were
7
the COVID
o'clock.
batch.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. I had to go in full snow. Okay, there'll be snow
Yep.
alerts. I'll put 3 layers of jacket because
Nope.
attendance was mandatory for us. So
Yeah.
that was the scenario which I had to go class in my 3rd semester. But you carry on. You say attend a Zoom call.
I
Solu,
mean,
solu. Yeah.
yeah. So ours was like full Zoom. So we'll wake up, join the thing, and go back to sleep. And so once that's done, like the entire day is free. So we'll spend some time doing lead code or whatever, and
Hey, you
evenings
guys
are
are not
basically for
pound.
gaming.
That code batch seems like heaven for me if I think
I
about that
mean,
scenario and
no,
all.
but here's the thing, right? Like you came all the way to the US to actually go study. I was like, so by second year, I was 15 minutes away from the university by walk. But that's when COVID hit. And so we were sitting at home 15 minutes away from university and attending classes. And we did that for the entire year.
I mean,
Like it felt pretty
grass is
pointless.
greener. I think I would want that life, but I can obviously say that because I experienced this life. I understand, both of us want to swap.
I mean, no, I'm fine with the remote thing, but the issue was we were 4 people in a small house. And all of us were in the same classes, and so another problem was during the initial COVID time, we all had internships, and so we all had remote internships. We didn't have a room to take the virtual meetings, and so we actually had a
Oh.
schedule in our house that we all assigned and like put our meeting times, where we went to the kitchen and used the kitchen as a meeting room. So like we have to, like there's no way for us to coordinate this otherwise, so just put everything there. And obviously if there's a conflict, then it works out because one guy's in the kitchen, one guy's in the bedroom itself, although it's disturbing. But I mean,
Nice
make
idea.
do with what you have. But I mean, that was very hard, like those 3 months. Yeah,
We
like
used to have that
half.
library, like in that whatever you said, like
Yeah,
it was like
yeah,
basically like right. But then we also had like a lot of people reserving that room, so we would
correct.
basically as soon as possible go someone find that room because that conference room will be like very nice. That is where like you do all this. So as soon like day one, you have to get that room, or else your like day is like kind of this thing. Like so, I relate to that. Your kitchen was basically the conference room equivalent for us.
True, but the thing is, if someone has a lunchtime meeting, you can't go eat food because you can't like go around him.
Need to wait. You not only
You
the
have
person
to.
has to wait, everyone has to wait.
Everyone in the entire house has to wait for him to finish. Like we'll all just be standing at the door, staring at his face, like just finish fast. And then, because I mean,
I
what
can't
else can you do, right?
imagine the sight of that poor person talking to the call when like
Oh
three
yeah,
people are staring at you are like seekranda pasikidra.
there have been so many times where I just started laughing during my meeting, and people like actually asked me what happened, and like I had to explain my situation. It was like a very nice conversation starter.
Nice. Okay. So I think like yeah. So as I'm thinking, what else? Like I think we'll probably talk about 2 topics before we wind off. First topic is I remember this experience. I'll just tell about the experience. You talk about some similar experience. So this was like
Hmm.
I just started interviewing like when that time period started 90 days. I'm in a very like different place, different house, not in the full mood. I'm
Right.
preparing lead code on this side, studying fundamentals on this side. Everything is going well. So what happened was I was at like a point where I could get past first round, get past coding assessment,
Right.
get past that technical round and go to that final round for some companies. I was able to like I was in the midway of that grind, but I was
Hmm.
also like nearing that time period for that 90 days. So it was like half and half. So there was this one company. I'm not going to mention the name, okay? But
Right.
this one company, it was basically you can think of it like out of like 100 companies, there was like 50, 60 companies which cleared round one, and then
Hmm.
20, 30 companies which cleared round two. When I say round one, it's like round one is coding assessment,
Right.
round two is like your technical
The
interview
final
with like the
panel.
lead. And then
Yeah.
final round is that final panel with everyone or like that one. Like it
Oh,
depends.
I
Like some
see.
companies have like a single
The
person to do the
yeah.
panel, or some people have like 2 or 3 people. So out of like 100 companies, this was the only company which went to that final round. Okay, I was
Hmm.
so nervous. I was so excited. This was basically you nab this, done. You close your
Yeah.
documents, you close your LinkedIn preparation, everything, you're done. You're just getting that offer. Right. So
Yeah.
this was that moment. I was fairly confident about myself. Okay, I wouldn't call myself as like someone who is very strong academically or theoretically, but
Hmm.
I feel my strong point is like practical, like basically like practical knowledge or like coding knowledge. Like that's my strong point. So I wouldn't say like I remember like all the concepts on top of my head kind of stuff. So that was the state I was in. And I had like one day to like prepare for this interview. So I was like thinking, what is going to happen? What question are they going to give me? Is it going to be like based on like system design, or is it going to be based on so like give me a problem and we pair program it, all these expectations. Okay. And I was in that full high. I stopped applying for other companies. I stopped like preparing for lead code kind of thing. I was like, "Adan karchirolla, one final round." That was my first time going to that final round. Okay.
Obviously.
And this is flash forward to the next day, full nervous, everything, join. You wouldn't believe, as soon as I see the call, there's like one person who's like saying like, I've landed off to this person. This will be the only person who's going to assess you. This is your final round. She's going to be doing this. The odds were I was just in front of this other person. She was a person who studied in CEG in Chennai. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Completely random. Okay. So background, I'm also from Chennai, right? So I could like
Right.
recognize. And then I remember like I Google, like doing like LinkedIn searches and stuff like at that time. And then everything came for, okay, I could understand. Okay, this is like a person and all the. You would think that is a good thing, right? No, that
Nope.
is never a good thing.
Nope.
Okay. I'll tell you. I already knew I got like screwed after saying that this thing. I'm not being like judgmental and
Right.
all, but I knew this was what was happening. It happened exactly as it was. So I go and sit. This person with like full this thing's like, "Hi, welcome to the interview." That's all. No greeting, nothing. Okay. This was the tone of the interview, and this was me. "Hi, how are you? How are you doing? What's up?" Hey,
Yeah.
I was like already okay, taken back. Okay. She's like, "Okay, shall we begin?" She had like a maybe like a set of interview questions or a document questions.
Yeah.
These were all questions which can be like one line questions which could be googled, nothing else. And on top of that, I told my preferred language was like C++C. That person is
Right.
like, the company only uses Java, you have to use Java. I was not ready for Java. Okay.
Nice.
I clearly said, and like flash forward to now, we both know that any object oriented programming is going to be the same. You take C++, you take Java, like there's only going to be minor differences. So
Yeah.
to the person who at that time, when she said it's going to be in Java, I was already shocked. I do not know Java. I do not know anything. And she started asking questions one by one. Tell me the difference between garbage collection and this thing, garbage collection. Like it went for like I tried to answer like one or two questions based on general oops knowledge here and
Right.
there, but after like second or third question I knew this is gonna be like, I started saying no, because these were all like, if you Google top 20 interview questions in Java, this is all going to show up. This is absolutely
Right.
useless, absolutely no point of like testing knowledge for someone. After Java she was done, she was like, okay, let's test your knowledge in SQL. What is the difference between having in and between? Same knowledge pattern of this thing. I could obviously answer like few questions here and there, but right, it's like so obvious that I knew that this person is preparing a list of questions and it's just gonna be based on that. And I like she asked for SQL, Java, and like one other thing. And after that, I was thinking, okay, these were all warm-up questions, basic questions. We are gonna dive into design
Like
pattern
coding.
or this thing or some. She's like, thank you for your time. I'll reach out to you.
Nice.
I was like, full shock. Not one question about what I did for internship, what I did in my projects, any academics, any this thing, any language preference or this thing. No conversations at all. It was a one-sided dictatorship kind of thing. Like, you tell me this, you tell me this, yeah, you tell me that. I did my job, and it's basically like she had to do her job and go off and go. That's all. It's like the company allocated one person to do this interview for them. And I was like, after that 15-20 minutes, I knew I screwed up, right? I was being full guilty that in reality, I never screwed up. That person did not test me in anything, okay?
Yeah.
But that person who was at that time, I was like full this thing, and I knew I was gonna this thing. So I had to like put on a face and tell whether my parents, family, or friends that the interview was okay. I couldn't directly say I screwed up. I was like, I knew at least till I had that rejection email, I had time to like at least try to move across this thing or that thing. So that happened for like that next one day. All I did was prepare top 20 interview questions SQL, top 20 interview questions Google. I went to that like bad pattern of like, what I was not supposed to do, but I did it. I was like, this is
Yeah.
the only option where no other way. I need to clear this to attend this thing. So, like, I started preparing this, and then exactly not even 1 day, 1 hour later, I got a rejection that I was rejected. Like, no feedback also, like, like at least prepare in this way, at least prepare in that direction, no, this, nothing. Zero feedback, zero, nothing. And you wouldn't believe it was a very, very, very like top level company. It's not even like one random company.
Right.
It's not Fang, obviously, but it's one insanely big company where if you say you work in that company, everyone around you is going to know. So you imagine a certain benchmark for that company, right? And the company, that standard of interviewing should be this much. After 3.5 years, if I think about it now, even like after attending so much interviews and after
Right.
interviewing so many people, that was one of the most absolute worst interviews ever conducted. And that was my only chance of getting through past that period. So whoever that person you're seeing this, if you're told that person is seeing, no, do not interview people in that style. 1 line, 20 Google questions is
Yeah.
not the pattern to test any person. I still cannot forget that person's face, that person's face still comes in my mind. Like, this was
Yeah.
the person responsible for not. Yeah, so that.
I feel like I've had very similar experience, and I don't want to say this is a stereotype, but I feel like Indians that have been here for a while in tech feel like the way they interview is very different from the way, like, let's say people who've come here in the last 5-6 years, or like people like, for example, Americans who are like here, and like for some reason, like the people from India who interview, like they still stick to the like the theory questions, like basically things you mentioned, like the theory about Java. Like, there's absolutely no reason for you to know that off the top of your head, because that's readily available on Google, and it's like, as long as you understand how it works, like um for example, like you mentioned, like, difference between in and between. Like, I don't think you ever need to like know, like, in depth on like the nuances of that, because like when you're writing a query, you're going to like evaluate that anyway. And so I had one similar experience where it was actually, again, a pretty like well-renowned company. Interviewer, surprisingly enough, was like an Indian that seems to be here for like seems to have been here for like quite
Always
some
those
time.
same people. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think they're the exact same category. And so this was for a back-end position. He starts off by asking me theory about binary trees and like AVL trees, red black trees.
Sorry to interrupt. I really wish there's an option that after that person asks, no, you ask back that question and let him answer what is a binary
There's
search.
absolutely no way he
100%
was
they won't know
answering.
it, right?
No way. I
Yeah.
can say almost for sure that they had no idea what that was, unless they had a write-up in front of them. Like, I
Yeah.
could tell just by the way because a person that actually understands it will never ask that.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah. That's very true.
It's not an interview question that you ask, and it's not something that tells you how good a candidate is. It just tells you how good he can memorize things. And in fact, even during your masters, like, these topics are things that are usually not even like fully tested. They're like taught because for the sake of completeness, but the professor usually mentions that this is way too complex for it to be tested in, let's say, a midterm or like a like annual exam. But anyway, this guy asked me that. I had like some half-baked answers. Initial ones I could answer, but like I have no idea about like red. Again, coming back to your point about me being a nerd, I had no idea what red black trees are, no idea what hill trees are. I just knew a little bit from what I remember from the algo class. And then next one is where I was shocked. He asked me to write a JavaScript code to draw triangles on a screen. Just a reminder, this was a back-end position,
I was
though.
just about to ask you. Yeah.
Yes. He's like, you can Google what you want, but draw a triangle. I said, okay, I'll draw a triangle. Then he like so then I think the next question was draw 10 triangles on the screen. Okay, I'll just loop it. Then he said, fill the screen with triangles. Like, sure. Then the last one was the worst one, where you like fill the screen with triangles, but they should never overlap. I'm like, bro, this is not like, I'll think about it, but I don't think that's ever relevant for a back-end position. Uh, I was so confused that I actually had to stop him halfway, and I like, uh, I just want to confirm that this is a back-end position and not a front-end. Like, I had to do it, and that probably messed up my case. But I mean, I couldn't not ask him, right? Like, this guy is sitting there asking me JavaScript and like graphics, and so I don't know what it is with like, and it's that exact category of like Indians that have been here for like the 10 to 20 year mark.
Yeah.
I maybe it's like just the norm that the standard that was set back when they came, but they've basically not moved on, and like are still doing that. And
Think of it, I think,
so
this way. Like, I think I think like what they are coming from is like in India at that time when they were interviewing, there was no Google, there was
correct,
no like other practices. So they
correct,
are just interviewing people to a standard which was like 20, 30 years back. The difference is majority of the non-Indians have moved on and they can think from the other person's shoe. They can think, oh, this person is 25. He has access to Google. He has access to Stack Overflow. If I give him a question, he's going to first Google, first Stack Overflow, get an insight, and then come back. So they will
yeah.
skip like basic questions. But it's something that I think like our people don't even think from the other person's shoe at all. Like
I mean,
that's the pattern I
so
see.
but that's the thing though, right? Like I think people that have come here in like within the last, let's say, 7 8 years, 10 years, like who are just senior to us, like I feel like those people are completely different, in the sense that they genuinely, it's almost like people who, okay, maybe let's put it this way: people are working in the US after doing a master's, and then people are in the US because they got, let's say, they're working back in India and then they got an opportunity to move here internally.
They would have
I think,
interviewed in that style itself in India, right?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think there's like a big difference there, where people
exactly.
who've done the master's here understand maybe your point of view a bit better. And so the interview feels more well,
It has to
fair.
be conversational, right? To some point, it should not be like that school or college level, because you're talking to someone who is not only an adult, who has
Yeah,
completed his undergrad, completed his masters, done projects, had an internship. So, right, like if I think about it right now in my work right now, if I get a store like 5-point task and I need something for like another person to do it, what do I expect from him? I would expect him to read that requirement,
yeah,
process it. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. We have to like find a solution based on whatever stack we have. For that, he
mm,
just has to have like a certain kind of discipline, certain kind of like understanding a problem and applying a solution. These are the metrics that a person should have. I do not need to know like the entire like entire data structure and algorithm list to like
yeah, yeah,
completely. I'm even now, I like whatever task you give, I am going to Google. I'm going to get like what is the syntax for this one. It's available. Why do we like it's like saying don't use calculators. It's like you have to do 2 plus 2000 in your head, or like 2 into like all that stuff. Like you have tools which do it, so you are going to do it the modern way. But the interview style still I feel is like archaic. It's like it's like so backward. Like I would
yeah.
even argue lead code itself is like not a proper test, but I would
I
say at
agree.
least to filter out people that make some sense. There is a hope that you grind lead code for 6 months, you are at a better stage. There is at least that hope. But imagine this Java style interviewer person. She is that ultimate final boss that no one can clear.
Yeah,
Like, just how the only
yeah,
way you clear is like you mug up top 20 interview questions for 1 month, and that too you do not know, like after like fifth or sixth question that person might like completely change that tone or completely change. It's basically in their hands. There is not like another person to review this. There is not like
yeah,
another person to, and you expect that from a very big company, right? You expect a standard to be set. So it was disappointing to say it. Like I lost that interest to work in a very big company at that point. I was like, yeah, because it highly depends on which team you're working, right? You can work in like Google, but if you work for a team led by this particular person, just imagine the work and you finished your task. Give me that. Give me this. Give me that. This will be the manager you deal. Not even the manager. This will be your tech lead that you deal with. If you deal with manager, also no problem. Like you can at least adjust. But the person you are technically you expect them to at least have a level of understanding of how things are going, right? So anyways, yeah, you were saying about this thing. Like, did it stop at that particular triangle thing, or like how
Oh
did it
yeah,
continue from that point?
I stopped. I asked him about the front end back end. He's like, no, this is for the back end. This was all in 30 minutes. And so by the
Oh,
time I could figure out the non-overlapping triangles, he said, yeah, we're done. Okay, fine, thank you. But another fun one. Have you heard of like big tech companies actually messing up with their tech itself? Because that happened to me.
messing up with
Uh,
the tech, for
like
example.
the interview tech. So well, I don't know if I can name. Yeah, why not? Like, so I was interviewing with.
வேணா
So,
beep போட்டுக்கலாம் அதான் பிரச்சனை ஆச்சுன்னா.
I was interviewing with Amazon, and then so
Hey, that is the company you actually worked for. La. How can you like
yeah,
use them himself as example?
it's fine. The point
Okay.
is like it worked out. So
Enjoy.
like,
Ah.
yeah, no harm, no foul. But it was funny because I interviewed with them, so I got the first coding round. I cleared that, and then they had some second round. That was also like online, which had like some problem solving and like some situational based questions and whatnot.
Hmm.
So after that, I finished that also. I got an email saying just upload like your ID proof, like some college ID, and that should have your face. So like your face and like you holding your ID so that they can verify it's you, because it was COVID time, so it was all remote. And what happened was I uploaded my photo and like my ID, and like within 30 minutes I got a reject. I don't know what happened. Oh no, sorry. So what happened was I uploaded my photo. I missed my face, so I
Hmm.
mailed them saying, "Can I re-upload with my face?" They said yes. They
Oh,
reset the
okay.
link. I uploaded it, and they rejected me. I was like, maybe they didn't like my face. Like that. That's the conclusion I could draw. So I was like, okay, maybe that's it for Amazon for me this time. Maybe I'll try again in 6 months. I'll move on and try other companies. I think this was at the beginning of the last semester, and by I think October or November, just before the Thanksgiving week, I was applying for another position at Amazon. I think this was for AWS. So it's all in the same. No, not I think Audible. And then I went to the job portal, and I see the original application. It was initially set to like inactive. Then when I was applying for this position, I saw that to a different. It had changed to a different status, saying waiting final interview. So I had no idea what was going on because I had received a reject.
Oh.
And so after seeing that status change, the next week, this was I think on a Friday, the following Monday, I got an email from Amazon saying schedule your final interview.
Oh.
And
Okay. Plot twist.
I have no idea what happened, no idea. So many questions there. One, why it got rejected. Two, why it changed after 2 months. This wasn't even like immediate. So like after like a solid like 2+ months, it
Hmm.
just switched automatically. It just so happened that I saw the status change that day, and literally the immediate next working day, I got an email from Amazon saying just let's do your final interview for the same position. And basically, yeah, I ended up giving that interview, and that's what I ended up taking up eventually.
Oh.
And so
Okay.
this was such a big plot twist because in my mind I was done with Amazon. Like, Amazon's over because they rejected
Yeah.
me. I'm moving on with like other companies. Funnily enough, at that time I didn't have any interview, any callback, nothing. Like when the status change happened, I was in like a very
Did you like mail them or like try to follow up, or after like rejection, you just like assumed it
I
was just
left it. I'm like,
rejection?
what more can I do? Like, it's done.
Yeah.
I did mail them, but it's so generally the email ID that they have is a very generic email ID, not to a specific person. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just done. And then I continued applying, and think for the next 2 months, I didn't even get a proper like final or like a interview call. And so I was at a very worse. I'll say I was in a much worse state then, and just all of a sudden, like overnight, I went from absolutely no interviews to a job offer.
Mm,
Like that's
nice. Ah.
like
Was it an email that you got, like that offer letter?
yeah, like I got
Okay.
an email from an automated system saying let's schedule your final interview. Even so, honestly, even then I didn't believe. I thought this is a system glitch. Um, So I didn't really like write back to them. I was like, I'll just show up anyway. Like there's nothing to lose. I'll see if they actually send an interview or like the meeting link. Someone actually did show up. Someone actually did interview me. I was like, okay, maybe this is really happening. Um, so I have no idea till date what happened, why it glitched, why it failed, why it rejected. And so
It was all,
if that can happen to
So
Amazon,
you
I'm
didn't
pretty
ask
sure.
like after joining the company, you didn't ask like anyone internally, like, anyway about this particular system.
So I thought about it. I was scared that they'll realize they made a mistake and kick me. And so I, I just left
this is
it.
your story of joining Amazon. Day.
Yes.
I was telling yeah, friend தெரியுமா Amazon Seattle, Keshav Chandrasekhar.
I
Okay,
mean,
the story is out.
I
Everyone,
still
Among Us
it,
game
no,
பார்த்திருக்கீங்களா
no,
இதோ
no,
இவன்
no.
தான்.
I mean, in my defense, I still interviewed, did all the rounds, and then got rejected.
Just kidding, just kidding. Pao is also going to look for matches and all. He's actually an Amazon employee, though. Don't worry.
I mean, fair, but
Yeah,
uh,
90%.
but yeah, if
Yeah.
they can glitch, I'm sure like all of this can happen. But only thing is, from what I've known, like or like noticed, like all the big companies generally have like trainings for interviewers also.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so they try to make. I don't know if that's a new thing, or I don't know if that's like always
You mean
been
those
there.
question
But
sets, no? Like interview set of
no.
questions
So
with a question or
you
answer?
have
Or...
to go through a training to be a certified interviewer.
Oh, okay.
And I
That's
know
different. I
a
haven't heard of that.
bunch of companies that have that program where you have to go through some trainings on like what to look
And
out
is it
for, what
voluntary
to
or
ask.
is it like mandatory?
Up to you. Generally, they push you towards it because like they want more and more people interviewing, right? Because there are a lot of candidates, and so they always need interviewers.
See, I'm saying this because now I can at least assume that, that Anna City CG girl who interviewed me, she was pushed into interview training. She forcefully tried to learn it.
For sure.
And for no, like, for like no other way she is stuck, she took an interview. Now it makes sense, like, right?
Yep. Because maybe that company didn't have a training policy back then, or maybe they didn't have like proper guidelines on what to ask. And so she just she's like, yeah, let's get this over with.
லைஃப்ல அண்ணா யூனிவர்சிட்டிக்கும் எவ்வளோ மெமரிஸ். I used to think of Techo Fest and the canteen. Now whenever someone says CEG, the kind of memory I get is only associated with that one interview.
Like Anna University is still haunting you like 4 5 years after.
4 5 years later. Okay, anyway, last topic. We have like almost 6 minutes. So we'll end it in like a positive note. I think like before that, I'll say that, third semester to fourth semester, most of the time you will be like stressed. You will be like facing all this, but you're seeing like two people who have like climbed all the mountains, and we're here right now. We're like, both of us are like software engineers in different companies. So you will eventually cross it out. There's been very cases where people dropped out like after that search for that 90 days. Usually 90% will get jobs in that 90 days. Somehow or the other, they will apply, they will grind, they will do it. It's just that if you want to go for like top companies or like upper, like, the creme de la creme companies, the amount of grind you do on lead code or like other preparation should be on another level, should be on another, like, but then you can always do like first company can be like, you don't have to go very big initially. Start off small, then get that 2-3 years of experience, then make that, when you're making the jump, you take that grind very seriously. That time you are like, you will know like, okay, you have been in industry, you'll know like industrial practices. So that time you'll kind of like, it makes sense. So I think though we say like, we rant and all this was something which was dealable. Like if you think about it now, at that time we dealt with it. It was like possible. I don't know if it's going to be harder in the future times or something, but it was like, it's still like, memorable experience. You do get like certain stories like the CG girl or the triangle guy that he was talking about, like part and parcel. So I think final question, like before finishing, what was that exact moment when you got that offer letter?
Yeah, mine was like even more special because, like I said, I didn't even have like a interview lined up, like not even a callback. And this was again, like I mentioned, this was close to the Thanksgiving week, and this is close to that December like soft deadline, because if I miss that, I'm all like immediate next after like December 10th is like Jan second week. So you're just losing out on a solid 20, 30 days out of your 90 days because of the holidays. So my situation I remember, and my lease was ending December. My roommates had already found a job. I was the only one that hadn't. And after December, I didn't have a place to stay. So all of that combined, just when I got that, well, I mean, I was already happy when I saw the final interview call from Amazon. I'm like, no idea how this happened, but yeah, okay. And then once I finally got the job offer, it feels very I don't know how to put this. I wouldn't say like happiness came later, but
True.
I think there's like disbelief before, where like you're refusing to believe that you can stop doing all of this. Like I think that's the first thing that comes to your mind is, yes, you can stop lead coding. Yes, you can stop doing all of the prep. You can like close all your, you'll have like a million tabs open on your laptop for like different companies and like their web pages and people to contact. LinkedIn, your, I don't know, like I don't know if you had an Excel. I had Excel tracking all of
Of
my
course. Yeah.
applications, and so you immediately want to close it, but like then the panic sets in, saying, what if this actually isn't happening? So like it takes a while for you to actually accept that yes, you're done. You can like close it. And then once you get to that state, that's when you realize, okay, like you've made it. Now you actually get happy. You start looking for, well, in my case, I was moving to Seattle. So I start looking for apartments. Like you actually start
Other set of
believing that,
responsibilities start.
yeah, you start
Yeah.
believing that you actually got a job and like you're done with it. Like till then, I don't think you ever believe that.
You slowly start receiving more emails, like, submit your identity, submit your
Yes,
this thing, and
that's
that's when
when
it like,
it
okay,
solidifies.
yeah.
And then after that, I think it's it very quickly goes into like you just said, you're excited for your next position. Like I don't think you ever um look back. Like once you get the job, I think all of the like the grind you did, like it doesn't even seem that big of a deal. Like it's very funny. Like one day you're crying about it, literally the next day you're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll probably do it again if I need to. Like it
No, not
genuinely
me.
goes from that
But
to
yeah.
that. I mean, you'll probably do it if you want to switch.
I mean, in that situation, yeah, there's like that was the only option. So yeah, I think definitely we do it again.
How was your
I think we're just on like 1 minute time.
yeah, so
Up
do it
wait.
like a rapid
So
fire.
shall we like record like one interview, like one meeting just to get this part out? Best. So இது ரெக்கார்ட் ஆயிட்டோம் 1 minute தான் இருக்கு. இது ரெக்கார்ட் ஆகி முடிச்சோன்னா வில் டூ அ செப்பரேட் இது ஃபார் லைக் 5-10 minutes and then வில் கட் இட் ஆஃப். அதுதான் லாஸ்ட் டாபிக்கா வச்சுக்கலாம்.
சரி, ஓகே.
எடிட்டிங்ல எனக்கு நிறைய வேலை இருக்கு போகுது, அதனால சரி நான் நெக்ஸ்ட் இது பண்றேன். Okay. So coming back to that question. So I already asked you that the offer letter moment. I'll just tell mine. So remember that. Okay. So SAP final round. கடைசி வரைக்கும் போயிட்டு லைக் did I say SAP? I'll edit it off. Okay. So இங்கேருந்து அப்படியே ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ற மாதிரி ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். Okay. So we were talking about this thing, right? The offer letter question to you, and you said about on the other. So I'll tell my experience. So that company I interviewed, remember that University girl. So that flopped. I have like almost 50 days left in my timeline. And I basically have to start from stage 1 to go all the way to that final thing. So up there I start. And then I completely forgot that there were like 2 other companies which was on hold for like more than so long, like certain time, that there was a chance that I would be receiving like final round and for those companies. And 2 of the companies contacted when it was like 43 or 44 in that day. So that was like out of surprise because I thought I had to start from the round 1 applying to them. There was like, okay, so there's like 2 other final rounds here. Then like both companies were very, very promising. And I had to like first I thought I'll give one like at like both were like 1 week apart, I think. Thought I'll give first round and then this thing, no? That first interview, was basically like that was the interview that was the company like I'm currently working, like I worked and all that. So other than a final product, but how it happened was after interview and all was over, there was like 2-3 days that waiting period. So every day, and that too, that interview I actually did well. So I was kind of excited, but I was like, okay, what if doesn't happen? Should I prepare for third interview? 50% only I was preparing for that third interview on that next week. Okay. So I was like, because basically if I get this, I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to join. That kind of company this is. Okay. So I was like waiting. Then one, like, and that moment where every day, the first thing you wake up, you go to Gmail, what all emails you get. You'll be like, that email title itself will tell offer letter or rejection.
If it says congratulations, you've made it.
Seriously,
If it says thank you for applying, you're not.
You're not. And you've woken up with that thank you for applying for past 30, 40 days. You're used to it. So you're like, okay, thanks, bye. You move on to do your next job. This is how your morning state is. So that day I was like also not prepared. I was like, okay, they'll take like 1 week or something. Then like up day, I was opening my eyes like this. And then first letter I see O. I was like, oh, wow. And like I was like, up day opening, OFFER. Like completely like opened, I woke up, was like, completely I read it, and then I was like, okay, this was that moment. Fine, I got that offer letter. That's when I read it, and like I saw like all the other details like pay or like resignation, this and all, because I was on full like this thing, auto control or this thing that everything was like forget. So I saw all that, and immediately I went outside. My brother was there. I was like, மச்சாயே டே வேலை கிடைச்சிச்சுரா அப்பா it's finally over. He was also like so excited, and
Nice.
I had to tell my friends also. So I did not like, because my friends also like basically very very like in terms of support, in terms of this, it was like completely that process I was able to get through it only because of them. So they were in university still, okay, because they were like one batch before me. They were in university still. So I was like, this particular friend I'm going to surprise. So I took a bus, Greyhound, which was like, you have to travel 8-9 hours through a basically very number one bus mari கூட்டம் style, like very crowded kind of it. So I took that bus, and that person knows that I gave the interview. I didn't tell that result. And usually if you don't tell the result to any friend, they will not ask you and they'll assume that it's a reject.
Correct.
That's what's gonna happen. So I was like, I took that bus. I like from that bus, it was like 10:30. I regret doing it now in that thing because it was not a safe place, that place where the thing gets done. And 10:30 usually the normal way is like you ask any students or someone to pick you up, right? Because universities are rural deserts, no one is there, all sorts of crime. So I regret that action of like trying to take my own Uber or like bus from that point, because I didn't want to inform anyone this thing. Somehow I survived. I came at 12 o'clock. I knocked on that person's door and I was like, got the job. And that moment was like, oh boy, it was slow movie, like filmy. It was like, like completely sad. And that's when I told my brother, family, like friends, everyone. As soon as that telling everyone itself, like my first job, I got it. I think that was that moment where everything kind of like came that full circle, and it's like you get that self-confidence, you get that like நம்மளும் ஒரு ஆளு, we are also like we are enter the industry. For first படம் if you release, like that is that feel you get. Like எப்படி ஒரு அந்த லோகேஷ் கனகராஜுக்கு வந்து மாநகரம் ரிலீஸ் பண்ற மாதிரி இருந்துச்சோ, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு நம்மளும் we are also software developer அந்த லிங்க்டின்ல போய் பொசிஷன் அப்டேட் பண்ற feeling. ஐயோ அதுவும் recruiters, you didn't select me, no, you see எல்லாரும் நம்ம ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ்ல தான் இருப்பாங்க. எல்லாரும் அப்படியே like
making the post,
that post, adil அப்படியே congratulations, and then slowly you join the company and that first paycheck it's pa. From that point onwards it is like all like complete spiral. But the phase before that, OFFER email, that was the phase which is like yabba. So
I agree.
That was the story. Okay, any last final thoughts, final comments, anything else?
I mean, I think sort of covered it all, but yeah, like it doesn't matter where you're doing your MS. I think all of these things you'll probably run into at some point, but yeah, I think it sort of does end up working out somehow. Not sure how, but yeah, I think for the most part, I think if you keep your grind going, and I think it'll sort of work itself out. So yeah, just I guess. But like you don't have to stop ranting. That's the best part about it. Like
Find a support system, find someone to rant to, and enjoy the process. Because after like few years, you're gonna come and you're gonna talk about it. You are going to survive anyway. So enjoy the process, even if it sucks. Enjoy sucking. Like that's also part of the process. Okay.
nice.
Cool. Okay, with that note, we'll conclude. Thank you for like staying till the end.
Of course.
And hopefully we'll see you in the next episode. And thank you, Keshav, for joining. If you like
course,
Keshav, if you want him to be as a recurring guest and all, please vote.
Oh my
blah
God.
blah blah blah. I don't think he's gonna join anyway. But yeah, thank you so much, Da. And I guess we'll see you
Alright.
again. Good night.
Of course. Bye bye.
Hi.
No gestures, no balloons, no yo like Amrita. No. Okay. She's a completely different personality now. This is how it's gonna be. It's gonna be natural, it's gonna be candid, it's gonna be secondhand embarrassment for all of us, but this is what we signed up for.
Financially free, you're not dependent on your parents anymore. So
the first item I've actually spent is buying my mom an iPhone.
We all have this thing called H1B lottery attempts like every 3 years after you get a job. So that's basically it. You get like 3 attempts, and every year you kind of get close to that. You know, you don't know if you're going to reach that tunnel or not.
life is at a pause right now. Even for getting a desk, we're like, visa.
Come on.
I think the best thing that has ever happened to me in the US, especially, would be friends, of course.
For me, I think be it anything, like she said, of course, friends. Be it those Dota nights we had, those pizza nights we had, or
Big Boss
planning
finals.